My neighbor Lorraine had a clematis vine that covered her entire back fence every summer. Deep purple blooms the size of my outstretched hand, wall to wall from late May through August. I stopped her in her driveway one morning in June and asked what she was doing to it. She looked at me with genuine confusion. She said, "I honestly couldn't tell you. I barely look at it." That same spring, I had planted my very first clematis. I had done my research. I watered on a schedule. I fed it. I gave it a beautiful trellis and everything it could possibly want. And by September, I had 6, maybe 7, blooms on a vine that looked like it had survived a war. The following spring, it simply did not come back. No dramatic death scene, just gone. I stood in front of that empty trellis for a good 5 minutes trying to figure out what I had done wrong. And the frustrating truth was, I had done everything the tag told me to do. Every single thing. That is the problem with clematis. The instructions you get at the garden center are almost useless. And so gardeners like me do all the sensible things, and the plant quietly fails anyway, and we start to believe it is just a difficult plant. It is not, and that is what I want to talk about today. There are 5 specific mistakes that kill most clematis before it ever gets a chance to become what it is supposed to be, that great big unstoppable vine that covers the fence and comes back bigger every single year. Once you stop making these mistakes, this plant becomes one of the most forgiving things in your garden. I have watched it survive hard winters, summer neglect, and things that would flatten most perennials and come back the following spring as if nothing had happened at all. Secret number 4 in particular, I want you to wait for that one, because I threw away what was almost certainly a perfectly healthy plant because I did not know what I am about to tell you, and I have never forgotten it. If you are new here, welcome to the Gardening Grandma. I share what I have learned from a lifetime of getting my hands dirty, the real lessons, not the ones on the tag. Hit that subscribe button right now so you do not miss a single video. We post a new one every week, and I am so glad you are here. Now, let us talk about clematis. Secret 1, plant it deeper than your instincts tell you. I want to start with the secret that threw out every planting rule I had ever followed. With almost every plant you put in the ground, the instruction is the same. Match the soil level it was growing at in the nursery pot. This rule exists for good reason. Bury a tomato stem too deep, and you risk rot. Smother the crown of a perennial, and you can kill the whole thing. I have followed that rule for 30 years without ever questioning it. Clematis is the exception. When you plant clematis, you want to go 2 to 3 inches deeper than the pot. You are deliberately burying part of the stem, including the lowest leaf joints, what gardeners call nodes, below the soil surface. It will feel wrong. Do it anyway. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Those buried nodes are a hidden survival system. If anything ever damages the top of your plant, a hard frost, a slug attack, an accidental snap while weeding, the plant does not die. It sprouts brand new growth from those protected buds sitting safely underground. You have built yourself a backup plant without even realizing it. This deep planting is also your best protection against something called CLEMATIS wilt, which we will get to in Secret 4. But the short version is this: a deeply planted clematis can be cut all the way to the ground and still come back from what is buried below. A shallow one has no second chance at all. My rule now is simple. When I feel like I have gone too deep, I know I have gone exactly far enough. Secret 2, shade the roots, not the vine. You have probably heard the old saying, clematis likes its head in the sun and its feet in the shade. It gets repeated so often that most gardeners hear it, nod along, and move right past it without ever actually doing anything about it. That is a mistake. Because hidden inside that little phrase is one of the most important things you can do for the long-term health of this plant. Here is what it means in practice. The top of the plant, the vines, the leaves, the flowers, wants full sun, at least 6 hours a day. That part most people understand and get right without any trouble. The root zone is the opposite story entirely. Clematis roots hate heat. When the summer sun bakes the soil at the base of the plant, the moisture disappears, the roots go into stress, and the vine starts quietly sacrificing its own leaves and flowers just to survive. This is why you can see a clematis sitting in full sun all day and still looking spindly and disappointing. The roots underneath are suffering and the whole plant is paying for it. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. The fix is so simple it almost seems like it cannot be right. You just shade the base. Flat stones or decorative tiles laid over the root zone will do it. But what works even better, and what I have done in my own garden, is to plant something low and leafy right in front of the clematis. Hardy geraniums, a small shrub, a clump of sprawling perennials. Those plants cast a living shadow over the roots, hold the moisture in the soil, and keep the temperature from ever spiking. My rule now is simple. Once the feet are cool and shaded, the whole plant relaxes. It goes longer between waterings, bounces back faster from summer heat, and forgives you when you get busy and forget about it for 2 weeks in July, which, if you are anything like me, does happen. Before we go any further, I have to ask, have you ever grown clematis before? Did it do beautifully for you, or did it disappear on you the way mine did that first year? Drop a comment below and tell me, because I read every single one, and the stories you share honestly shape the videos I make next. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do it right now. I have got some wonderful things planned for this channel, and I do not want you to miss them. Secret 3. Learn your pruning group or do not prune at all. This is the secret that has caused more perfectly healthy clematis to give a full season of nothing but leaves than almost anything else I can think of. And the frustrating part is that the plant is not broken. The gardener just cut at the wrong moment. The problem is that there is not one pruning rule for clematis. There are 3, depending entirely on which variety you own. Cut at the wrong time and you remove every flower bud before it ever opens. The plant survives. It simply will not bloom, and you spend all summer wondering what went wrong. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Clematis fall into 3 groups based on when and how they bloom, and each group needs to be handled in a completely different way. The first group blooms early in spring on stems that grew the previous year. These you barely touch. Prune them hard in late winter, and you have cut off every flower this year's plant was going to give you. All they ever need is a gentle tidy up right after their blooms fade, and otherwise you leave them alone. The second group are the big showy bloomers, the wide dramatic flowers most people picture when they think of clematis. These bloom on both old and new wood, so a gentle cleanup in early spring to remove anything dead or weak gives you 2 rounds of flowers in a single season. They are the divas of the family, but they reward your patience. The third group blooms later in summer entirely on brand new growth. These are the easiest of all. Every late winter, you cut the whole plant down to about a foot off the ground. It sounds drastic the first time you do it. It comes back bigger every single year. My rule now is simple. If I do not know which group I own, I do not touch it the first year. I watch when it blooms because bloom timing tells you almost everything you need to know. A clematis that goes unpruned gets a little untidy. A clematis pruned at the wrong moment loses its whole show. When in doubt, the shears stay in the shed. Secret 4. Do not throw it away. Now we get to the one I told you to wait for. The one I wish with my whole heart someone had told me 30 years ago before I lost that first clematis. I want you to picture something. Your clematis is climbing. It is healthy and strong, and maybe it is about to bloom for the very first time. You walk outside one morning and an entire stem, or the whole plant, has collapsed overnight. Dark, wilted, completely limp. It looks for all the world like the plant has died. Suddenly and without any warning, that is clematis wilt. It is a fungal issue that travels through the stems, and it is the single most heartbreaking thing this plant ever does. And here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. The plant is almost certainly not dead. Clematis wilt attacks what you can see above the ground. It almost never reaches the root system. And if you planted deep, the way Secret One told you to, you have got living buds sitting safely underground, completely untouched by the whole disaster happening above the soil. So instead of giving up, you do something that feels all wrong. You cut the entire collapsed vine right down to the ground. Every bit of the wilted material comes off. You throw it away, do not put it in the compost pile. Then you keep the soil consistently moist, keep those roots cool and shaded, and you wait. In almost every case, within a few weeks, new green shoots push up from the base. Fresh, clean growth from those buried nodes, the very ones you protected back in Secret One. The plant resets itself completely and starts over as if nothing happened. Many clematis go through wilt once or twice in their first years, and then, as the root system matures and grows stronger, simply stop doing it altogether. The plant grows out of it on its own. My rule now is simple. When wilt strikes, I cut it down and I wait. I do not dig, and I do not throw anything away. The gardener who panics loses the plant. The gardener who waits gets a vine that goes on for 20, 30, 40 years. I threw mine away. I have never once forgotten it. Secret 5. Feed the roots like you mean it. The last secret is about building the kind of deep long-term strength that makes every other secret on this list work even better than it would on its own. Clematis is a hungry plant. It wants to be fed, but it wants the right things at the right moments, not a random handful of whatever fertilizer is sitting in the shed, tossed on whenever you happen to remember. And here's the part that surprises most people the first time they hear it. Here is what most gardeners never discover until the damage is already done. Too much nitrogen, the nutrient that pushes leafy green growth, gives you a clematis that looks full and lush and gives you almost no flowers at all. The plant looks perfectly healthy. It just will not bloom. And it can be maddening trying to figure out what is wrong when the answer is that you have been feeding it too well in the wrong direction. What clematis really wants for flowers is potassium and phosphorus, and the timing matters just as much as what you choose. In early spring, as the plant wakes up, I work a generous handful of compost or well-rotted manure into the soil around the base. That is the slow, steady foundation, the kind of feeding that builds roots quietly before the growing season is even fully underway. Then, as the plant approaches its blooming time, I switch to something higher in potassium. A rose fertilizer or a tomato feed works beautifully for this. That is what lights the flower display up. Once it is blooming well, I ease off and let the plant do its work. My rule now is simple. feed the roots, and the roots will carry the plant through everything. A clematis with a strong, well-nourished root system is a plant that forgives neglect, bounces back from wilt, and weathers hard winters without complaint. Every good thing you do below the soil pays you back in flowers and in the years of life that vine has left to give. So let us bring it all together, my dear. Plant 2 to 3 inches deeper than the pot and build yourself that underground backup before anything can go wrong. Shade those roots while you let the vine drink in the sun. Learn your pruning group or put the shears away until you do. Never throw away a plant that wilts overnight. Cut it to the ground and wait, because it is almost certainly still alive. And feed those roots with the right things at the right time of year. Do those 5 things, and clematis stops being the plant that disappears. It becomes the one that covers the fence, comes back bigger every summer, and shrugs off everything you throw at it, including the years when you forget it is even there. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever lost a clematis and later wondered if you gave up on it too soon? Or do you have one of those beautiful old vines that just keeps going year after year, bigger every season? Tell me below. I read every comment and I love hearing your stories. If this video helped you, please share it with someone who gardens. That is how this little channel grows. And I am so grateful for every one of you who does. Until next time, happy gardening. Take care of yourselves and take care of those beautiful gardens of yours.